People always say that you have to have money to make money, and that there's an extraordinary level of sacrifice on the road to success. So how is it that investors like us who didn't start out with much money and who don't rely on banks and credit, how is it that we can increase our income and build our wealth in a way that doesn't require us replacing one full-time job with another while still enjoying the things in life that matter most to us? That has always been the big question, and this podcast reveals the answers. I am Carrie Like, and this is the Investor Warrior. Hey guys, and welcome to the show today. Gosh, it's the holidays. It's a crazy time of year. So thank you all for joining us. If you're on live stream right now, craziness going on in the Like family household right now. You're probably going to hear my kids come in once in a while because they're off from school. It's just that time of year. So I am bringing up my good friend, Ed Zulyevic, to the show. Ed, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us today. I'm just excited.
Good morning, Carrie. Thank you for having me. It's been excited for this.
Together, we were driving around on a golf cart because we both don't golf, but we were with a whole bunch of people that were golfing, and we had like such a good time. We hung out for the day, talked about real estate, talked about life, had a few drinks. It was fun. It
was so fun. We had a great time. It's one of those moments.
Course down.
It's awesome. Yep, we had fun.
So, what have you got going on now? So you're in Oregon?
We're in Eugene, Oregon. Yep.
Yeah.
I've lived here pretty much my whole life. This is my hometown.
And so, so the first time I really heard like your journey through real estate was at the last event that we were at, a real estate investing event. And I got to hear kind of how you got into real estate and the fact that you're a airplane mechanic and some of the things that you do with your in that career. Guys, I'm on a live stream right now. Some of the things that you do with that career, you they bleed over into your investing world. Hey guys, you need to get out.
Yes.
Because you're on a show right now. So talk a little bit about your journey with real estate investing.
Yeah, so I'm an aircraft maintenance engineer. I found a niche early on, about 30 years ago. I specify specifically only on helicopters. So that's rotorcraft, and that kind of weird specialty has forced me to kind of travel around the world, good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend a lot of time on the road, typically about 2 weeks out of each month I'm living in a motel. So I guess early on in life, that was good because I was, born and raised on a farm and hadn't really gone too many places. So it was good for the longest time. And, the money was good. But as time kind of goes on, you kind of look for other stuff. And when I first got married in mid-90s, we were looking for a place to live. We couldn't really find anything that suited our budget. So we bought a property that needed some fixing up. So we moved into it. We just kind of rehabbed it. And I think about 2 years later, sold that house. And then that's when we kind of realized what forced appreciation was and kind of what that looked like with equity. And then that kind of turned into a business model for us. Kind of lived in the house for a couple of years, fixed it up, moved on, picked up some rental properties along the way. And that's kind of my first introduction to real estate.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a, I don't know, by accident, I guess.
Right. Well, and you talked a lot. So what I liked about the when you got up and spoke in front of the group was you talked about the things that you do as an airplane mechanic. Like you have so many checklists because you're responsible for the lives of people getting into that airplane. And so you live your life by checklists, and you also do that in your real estate world. And if you're on the live stream, like you can see all the bazillion notes on the whiteboard behind Ed, which is like, is that like your master plan behind you for the year? What is that?
This is a lead magnet funnel that I'm working on for one of our projects. So it's kind of just working on marketing. Really real estate.
Yeah.
We always think we're in the the business of buying or selling, but really 95% of it's marketing and how do you outreach to that individual, right? So this is kind of the way that I do it in the marketing business, and whether it's direct mail, bird letters, phone calls, relationships, all that, anything to try and generate that traffic towards me and us that we can help in some way, answer some questions.
So I imagine your brain works very like logistical because of you being an airplane mechanic, and because your days are driven by checklists. That the same is true in the real estate investment world, is that you go through the checklist every single day.
Correct.
And it's very centralized.
Checklists are huge, right? Because what's great about it is you don't forget anything. And when you see gaps in that checklist, as you learn over time, you can kind of modify, add another step, and just follow them. So, I get up in the morning, I follow my checklist. I have my time blocked, and I have different tasks I do, whether it be marketing. And fortunately, I have a fantastic partner that helps me every day, that fills, that's my counterbalance, not only in business and life, but he's very structured, very organized, and I get a lot done, but he gets a lot done in less time. So I don't know how he does it, but I try and keep up and do the best I can and fill those voids. But yeah, it is checklist, right? And real estate is checklist. You go through purchasing a property, from marketing to closing, getting recording numbers. It's just a series of checklists. So, and that's why.
Just for like specific transactions, like if I'm doing an owner financing deal, I've got a checklist for that. If I'm doing a lease option, I have a checklist for that, because each deal has its own steps and paperwork and things that need to happen before closing.
Correct. Yep.
And it's
because we have legal ramifications to deal with. If we don't follow a certain step and don't get the disclosures right, and same with the FAA and aviation. You skip a step, could be an accident. So there's always, that looming in the back of your mind. So checklists have always kept me safe. Yeah.
We have a whole folder dedicated in our Google Drive. It says real estate checklists. And then in there, it'll be like by transaction or just general, before closing, after closing, rehab checklists, selling checklists. I mean, like so many. But all I have to do now is go to them, and I've modified them over the years. And now they're pretty much exactly where I need them to be. And sometimes I'll add stuff to them as we learn and grow. But I don't even touch them anymore. I just look at them and go through them. And it helps me so much, because I feel like don't you feel like in the world of real estate, when you have multiple deals going on, maybe you're closing on a mobile home park, you've got private investors funding another deal, maybe it's a flip, you've got another rental that you're purchasing with owner financing, you're selling on a lease option, right? You've got like all these different transactions, and you can get really confused at closing. And all of a sudden you get to closing and you don't have all the pieces that you need in order to close the transaction, because you forgot one. And so that's why my life is just run by checklists, both personally and business wise.
Yeah. And it's good to keep them updated, like you said, and add or subtract in there where you need to make those changes. And we just did a transaction just a couple of days ago, and as many as we do, I missed a step, right? I missed my check. It's like, oh my God, how did I do that? But you do the best you can. I know. You learn, and it's like, oh dang it! It's like, how did I? Like,
you will. No, you will. Once in a while, you will still miss it. But that's why. I mean, you're gonna miss way more steps if you don't have it written down in a form that you can follow than you are if you're going to keep it in your head and think that, oh, I've done this so many times that I'm not going to forget it. I'm going to do it every single time the same way. And it's not true. Like you start, these layers of real estate start adding up, and all of a sudden you become so busy that you can't keep it in your head anymore. And then you get confused. Like I've gotten confused with closings where I had like 2 closings. Maybe one was on Thursday and one was on Friday. And in my head, I had them mixed up. And then it wasn't until Wednesday where I was like, oh my God, oh crap. Like, no, I have them mixed up in my head. Wednesdays is Thursdays and Thursdays is Wednesdays. And I need this
Yeah.
to work tomorrow, not Thursday.
Yep.
It's stressful when you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that checklist helps you. If you get on an airplane, get on a 747. So that's an
I don't
extremely
know
complex
what a
aircraft.
47
And
is.
the checklist is like this thick. You walk in, and you get on a plane and you look over to your left, you look at the pilots and they're going through their list, right? Because there's so many things to keep track of. The human can't memorize all that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it's following that checklist, the counterbalance between the co-pilot and the pilot, double checking each other, following that checklist. So it's just, we have to have them, right?
Yeah. Howie's getting his pilot's license right now. So he's going through the whole training right now. He's about, I don't know, maybe halfway to 3/4 of the way through. And every time he comes home, he's like, oh my God, there's so much you need to remember.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, you're going to be flying for a little while before I get in that passenger seat next to you.
Yeah.
I don't want you to while I'm sitting next to you.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There's a lot, and we rely on those checklists. They're just, you just have to, when people don't start using them, that's when you start worrying.
Yep.
Yep.
So you did a pretty cool deal recently with a mobile home park. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So this one is, you and I are blessed. We both have the same mentor, Greg. So, and we've learned so much, and, I have to thank him as well for teaching me along the way, and my partner Dan helped me on that deal together, brainstorm and figure that one out. But it was listed with a broker locally, and we sold a couple of homes, mobile homes in that park, and I never even knew that the park was for sale. So we were sitting down with one of the listings. I don't even know how we got involved in selling mobile homes, but it's just one of those like, we'll help you out, right? It's like, okay, you need some help. We got some spare time. Just jump in and do it. You don't make a whole lot of money on those, but it proves a checklist. So we created another checklist, another system in a process for selling mobile homes. So building out that system, we took this listing to kind of prove the checklist, right? Make sure everything's in there. So sitting down with a seller there, she said, yeah, the park's for sale again. I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't even know it was for sale. So we were kind of him-hawing around, possibly thinking about purchasing one. So we gathered information. There's a story ahead before this. We had an investor that was interested in a park. So we did some underwriting for him, got some information, and then he bailed. And so this was months later.
This was the lender, the underwriter, that he didn't want to lend on it?
This was a cash investor that we had.
Got it.
And we saw the listing for the park, and it met the numbers that he was looking for. So we put the deal together for him.
He did his own underwriting and bailed.
What's that?
So he did his own underwriting and then bailed.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And then he ended up bailing on it. So he didn't want to be associated with mobile home park. Right? That stigma that's associated with that, right? So anyways, a month or two fast forward, and we're sitting down taking this listing, and the lady said, hey, the park's for sale again. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, and it's been in and out of contract with multiple buyers. And so we met there at the park later on, and to get the listing agreement signed. And I was trying to find a place to park, and the parking's kind of tight around there. So I kind of jostling my truck around here and there. And the guy comes out and he's like, hey, he goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm just trying to find a place to park. And he's like, well, you can't park there. I said, well, shoot, I don't want to take up space over here. So I was just looking for a place. He's like, well, what are you doing here? So, well, we're taking a listing for this lady in space number, X. And he goes, oh yeah, you can park there. That's fine. And I said,
so you were just going to list one of the mobile homes in the park.
I just thought he was just a guy that was outside, right, doing yard work. Well, it ended up being, he was the owner. So I said, hey, it's like, what do you do here? And he goes, I'm the owner. And at that point, we already did our due diligence and put an offer in with the agent, his agent, like just a couple of days ago. So here I am in front of the owner, And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? It's like, it's like, okay. God, like, what would Greg do? Gather information. So I'm like, hey, okay. So like, yeah, you own the park. And I said, oh, that's cool. I said, what? I heard that it was for sale. And he says, yeah, that's for sale. And it's like, why are you guys selling it? And he's like, well, my wife, she really wants to sell the place, right? Get a motorhome, travel around. Okay, so I'm just speaking the language of my audience, gathering information, right? So we gather information that, yep, he's the owner, he wants to sell it. And so he asked me a tough question. He said, hey, what was your offer? When I finally disclosed that, hey, we put an offer in on the park with your agent. He's like, well, what did you offer? And I said, X, dollar amount. And he's like, well, hey, that's not bad. It's like kind of enthusiastic, right? And we ran the numbers, and we just based it on what the NOI is, and what the average park space rent for the lots that have been sold recently. And that's where we kind of needed to be with the commercial loan that we were getting. So, long story short, he threw out there, he said, hey, couldn't you guys offer a little bit more? And I said, well, no, it's based upon, what your NOI is and what we can get approved for a loan.
Right.
And he's like, well, God, if we can get a little bit more money, that would be great. And I said, well, I can go a little bit more if we can get some agreement on some terms. So he's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, like an installment sale or some sort of maybe a partial carryback, and he's like, oh, I don't know. He goes, I don't know, maybe. And so he's like, hey, I got to go my way. Got to get his stuff done. I had to get to my listing. So we said goodbye. So after that, I think it was the next day that we actually set up an appointment with the listing broker to meet with them. And we kind of did it in a way that it's an older park. So we kind of strategized kind of an angle that, hey, the park's kind of old. It'd be really great if we could meet with the owners to get some information about the park, some history. Like, hey, we're in contract. Would you share some history about the park? And the broker's like, yeah, God, that'd be a great idea. So we met with them and walked around the park for about an hour and a half. And that conversation came up again, if you guys could offer a little bit more money, so we, over the course of an hour and a half or so, we talk a little bit more in detail about what that looks like and what terms are and kind of how it would kind of help him based upon some of the questions he had about owner financing. And I know you just had your last podcast was about this, owner financing, and, why would someone do it? And it always goes back to the same thing. You have to understand where they are in their life and why would they want to do that? So here we got baby boomers. They're in that downsizing, liquidating phase of their life, but they're still attached to the income stream. They love that income stream. So they don't want to get rid of it. And when they keep talking about, God, I really hate capital gains tax, and God, I wish there was a way to get around that, and that's just kind of painful. We've owned it for so long. These are all your clues to start trying to answer those questions for them,
And was this park owned free and clear, or did they have a loan on it?
Yeah, it's free and clear.
Yeah.
So they've owned it 25 years or so.
Set up for owner financing, someone who's owned the park for a long time. It's free and clear. They don't want to get hit with this big tax bill next year. They're still attached to the income, but they don't want the headache of owning the, everything we talked about in the last podcast show. This is
totally
scenario.
It's ditto. I'm just reiterating exactly what you said, and even the topic came up of, it's like, yeah, I understand a promissory note. He goes, well, God, what if I die? Right. It's like, that's, I don't want to be morbid, but I said, when you do die, this is the remainder beneficiary part. I said a number of situations that we've dealt with. That's been probably the number one thing that the seller was motivated for, is like, what happens when I die? They want to be prepared. It's like this is the remainder beneficiary, right? I said, and a lot of people, quite honestly, they don't want $2 million going to the kids when I die. They want it on a structured installment sale so they don't blow through it on blah, 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 right? We've heard those stories.
Yeah, you're setting your heirs up for an income stream in their future rather than a whole bunch of cash in their bank account, which can be dealt with irresponsibly with some family members, right?
Yep, absolutely. And it was similar there, he said, he goes, I basically, got one of those in the house playing video games now,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it suits the situation very well.
Well, and I want to get back too, because one of the biggest clues that you first heard him say was, could you offer a little more? And based on the NOI and the financials at that time, the cash offer was the cash offer. You couldn't go any higher, or you knew you weren't going to be able to get a loan, whether it be a cash offer, a cash from a private investor, or a commercial loan. So anytime I hear, man, it would be great if we could get a little bit more, my ears perk up, because this is a way when you can do terms and owner financing with a seller, this is a way for them to get more cash in their pocket over time. It's over time. Yeah.
Yep. And you can project that out. It's you use a net seller sheet. Oftentimes we'll sit down with a net seller sheet and see, why would the bank get this money when you can receive this interest over time? Look at these two different numbers. Here's the purchase price. Here's what you're going to receive in X years. What's nice about an amortization schedule is we can project that to the penny in the future. Right. When they see those numbers, they're like, oh my gosh, they're staggering.
Well, and what's great about this is you can customize it to the seller. Like you can literally sit down with the seller and say, okay, here's what we might be able to do. We could give you more cash, less cash. This is how much income you receive. Like there's so many little tweaks that you can make to that offer to customize it so that they are excited about it.
Absolutely.
You can't do that with a bank. You can't say like, hey, Mr. Bank, we're gonna just tweak the interest rate. We're only gonna give you this much as a down payment, and we'd like this structured this way, right? They're gonna be like, no.
No, you're trying to deal with the devil, right? They're not flexible. They're not malleable in any way, shape, or form.
So we can be when we're dealing directly with the owner. And what I love about this deal that you did is that you got in front of the owner. Because that is the key. And people think that you can't do these deals when it's listed, but it's just a matter of talking to the broker about getting in front of the owner and all sitting down together to see how we can make this work for everyone.
Right. And that's very challenging. It's extremely challenging because I don't know how to say this, but historically there's always been this separation between buyers and sellers, right? We don't sit down together, with listed properties. And it's tough, right? Because, it's a person game, right? You have to sit with a person and understand them, listen to them, understand who they are, where they want to go in life, and how do they want to get there, and listen to the stories. Mm-hmm. So it's not the deal first. It's like Jeff says, you got to solve the person to solve the deal. It always starts with the person. It has to. And if you're one that just wants to jump in and go to deal and not deal with the people, then that owner financing is not for you, right? Because it takes time.
Do you think you have more credibility with listing agents, getting them to bring the owner in because you are also a licensed agent?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're not just some investor that's not licensed wanting to get in front of the owner. You're a fellow agent.
Exactly. You have instant credibility, whether it's real or not, right? You have more credibility.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So
I think that's important.
So let's talk about the structuring of this deal, if we can get into that. So how did you put this all together?
Yeah. So it was at that point when we left the park that evening after meeting with them, we had our commercial loan pretty much set up, but a call after that meeting that night, it kind of fell through. They didn't want to lend on the park. And this is a 55 and older park. All the tenants own their own mobile home, modular. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of expenses for the park. The upkeep is minimal. It's a great property, but they didn't want to fund a mobile home park. So I was like, oh my God. It's like, I slept on it. Dan slept on it. And, we both kind of had that epiphany moment. It's like, oh my God, like, what would Greg do? So we called and talked in the morning, and it's like, he suggested this. And I'm like, absolutely, that's what we need to do. So we called the listing agent. I said, you basically got two options. A, Our commercial loan fell through. We walk away. You relist it. I'm sorry for the hassle, right? It wasn't my intention. B, we put down X amount. We put a large non-refundable earnest money deposit down with no contingencies, no exceptions for anything, because we already had all the information from the park. So, and it was substantial. It was a pretty bold move. So big amount for a down payment, non-refundable, the balance on a promissory note. And we structured it with no interest number, just a dollar amount per month. So we just threw out $1 a month every single month for 20 years. And he was kind of set back. He's like, oh my God. He goes, this is an old broker. He'd been at it for a long, long time. And he's like, I've never heard of a large non-refundable earnest money deposit before. So I said, call your sellers. We wanted to make an exclamation point out of it. Like, we're serious. We're real. We're not screwing around. So he called the sellers and they agreed, and we kind of met up, made some slight adjustments. So I think we settled on, it was right about 4% interest, 30-year amortized loan with, I think it was 20-year balloon payout. So we got 20 years on that. But the biggest part of the deal is, I already know everything that they own. We've already checked out all of their other assets, and it's the other stuff that is really interesting that we would like to be positioned for in the future to buy.
So you're building a relationship with him by structuring it this way, and he's most likely going to come to you when he's ready to sell the rest of his properties.
Hope so. No guarantees, but when you meet with him later, I saw him out at the park last week. I was doing a couple of things, and he came around and he said, hey, he goes, God, you guys are doing a great job, and the park is so clean, and he goes, it just really looks nice. I said, God, it's my responsibility to do that for you. It's your collateral. You are my partner. Right? You are my partner. That's my obligation. He's like, oh, I never really thought about it that way. I'm here to provide you with what you need to get you to someplace in your life. So
well, and here's where it's really, really important to continue that relationship with the person that you're doing this kind of structuring with. Basically, you're going to have a relationship with him for the next 20 years, right? So what does that mean? That means every year we're sending the paid taxes to him, so he doesn't have to go looking for them. Every year we're sending the updated renewal insurance with them named on it, so he doesn't have to go looking for that. Every year we're sending him a holiday card, just as a personal touch, right? Or find out his birthday, send him a birthday card every year. There's so much more after the deal closes. And I think that here's where a lot of people just, it's closed, moved on to the next deal. And they don't realize that there's this relationship there to foster. And a deal might come out of it and a deal might not come out of it.
Right.
But you're fostering this relationship with this person. And what's better than that? This is a relationship game, right? This is all about us forging these relationships with people who are also in real estate. And you never know where that's going to take you into the future. So don't just drop the ball when the deal closes and say, okay, move on to the next one. We got this one down, right?
Absolutely. Well said. Very well said. Yeah, because we're in the people business. There are no expectations, but without the people in our business, there's really no business. So it's just about, and like you said, helping them. For the longest time, I didn't really understand this because I felt like selfish, right? But without us, without what I do, they don't get what they need. So go put that money in Edward Jones' account. How's that guy going to work for you? Is he going to get you the return that you need to get you through life? No.
Yeah.
So your dollar is collateralized by property you've already owned for 25, 30 years. You know it better than I do. And that's insured. If it burns down and disappears.
he still has this emotional connection to the property if he's still there checking it out and seeing, and he's getting excited to see what you guys are doing to it.
Yeah.
That
Exactly.
holds a lot of weight too, when you can show people how you're going to improve what they owned for so long.
Right. Yep.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting. Like I just love,
rewarding.
If I could go back and rewarding. If I could go back and do it again, just to experience it again.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God, it's just awesome. It's an awesome feeling.
Well, and what I love about this deal too is there were a lot of setbacks. It's not like you put it under contract, you did the deal, you got it done. How many times did you go back to this deal? And you had a commercial loan or a private loan fall through, then a commercial loan fall through, then you structured it with owner financing. Like sometimes it takes a little while to get to that point.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it got to the point where he was seeing that, oh my gosh, this property has fallen through with all these commercial lenders. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is the best deal for me because I am going to get that money over time. I am going to continue to get the income, and I'm basically providing the loan for you, not a bank. So it's going to go through.
Exactly. Yep.
And you kept at it.
It's just you keep at it, and you always keep digging for clues. Like when we were walking around with them, always poking for information, trying to find those off ramps to sit down with a communication and, little side ramps he's like, hey, like, where are you guys going to go with your RV? He's like, oh, we're going to go over to, Eastern Oregon. I said, oh man, I was up on a big Forest Service spray job, when I was, helicopter spraying gypsy moths and stuff years ago over here in X Town. He's like, oh my God, he goes, that's where our little cabin's at. So there's a point of agreement with someone. Cool. So it's another one of those moments and he's like, oh, this guy's kind of real. He's been to the same place, the little podunk no-name town. And it's just those little things. You just have to keep talking and be personable and just have a conversation, to be true, be honest.
Yeah. I love it.
Yep.
So that was a great deal. So you guys closed on it, and what kind of improvements have you had to put into the park?
We've done some landscaping. We've done a little bit of electrical work that kind of had some electrical burn up issues after we closed. One of those, midnight on Friday kind of things. But, it's one of those things that your due diligence couldn't have caught, buried electrical cable. You just work through it, solve the problem, and move on. But mostly some management restructuring. So the rents obviously were way low, and in Oregon we deal with Senate Bill 608, so we have rent regulations, so we can't increase more than I think 2.2% plus the CPI. So this year it's 9.2% per year. So how do you deal with that? One of the things is when you sell a mobile home in the park, now the rent resets to where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. So just knowing when people are going to sell, just keeping that in mind and resetting those rents over time when people, decide to move on in their life, and adding value add, right? Putting self-storage on the far end of the property where there's plenty of space, right? And the community is looking for that as well. So just those little value add.
You're charging rent for that, for the self-storage? Yeah,
there'll be like
more income,
like 10 by 10 metal storage buildings, right? So your classic stuff. So just getting stuff like that planned and executing. So that's the value add. Get your NOI where it needs to be, and that's where you get your value at. So it's where doing things that other people don't see. It's your opportunity vision, your entrepreneurial vision. You don't share it, you keep it to yourself, and this is what we saw that no one else thought of. So
I have a small piece of land that's part of this park. Let's put some self-storage on it because there's a need for that, and we can charge for it, and it's going to increase the value of the park now as we increase income. I had I think this was a conversation with Greg. We were talking about expandability, and he had an analogy to his garage. And he said that like his garage is like it's like Tetris in there right now, because he's basically used every square inch of space he can use from top to bottom to fit like extra refrigerators and all their kids' stuff. And he's like, that's what expandability is, like taking the very last inch of what you can use and finding a use for it, right?
Yeah, he's good at that. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, I have this little plot of land on this mobile home park that's not currently being used. What could I do with it and charge
Exactly. Yep. I'm going to condo it out for a tiny home. I don't know. Something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So you're also doing some syndication. You talked about.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So we just kind of we're just getting going on that. I always love owner financing, and those are my financial partners.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, we realized your friends run out of money. So, if you need, $100,000, $50,000 for a project you're working on, you borrow it, you put them on a note on a property that we own. But eventually that system runs out because you don't own enough properties, or you don't have enough equity in the properties you have. Mm-hmm. So the only answer was to start syndication. Mm-hmm. So we started that in an effort to kind of scale and grow the business in kind of a new way. So we're forging that direction here this year.
The very basic, like, what is syndication? I think we have a lot of listeners. We have listeners from all different backgrounds, experience levels, but some are brand new, and some might not understand what syndication is.
So basically, syndication in a nutshell is we're going to pool investors' dollars to purchase an investment property, mm-hmm. and whatever that property might be. So you basically have operators that are going to purchase and operate the property, and then you have the syndication side, which is basically pooling investors' dollars. Kind of put those two together, purchase a property, and then now there'll be a management structure and a business plan and executive summary, a whole plan to manage that property to get the returns that those investors are looking for, that don't want to participate in the toilets and the trash and the management. They just have X amount of dollars that they want to see X return with, and mm-hmm. take the money, do what you need to do, get me my return. Thank you. Basically, that's it.
How are you finding these investors?
Here's one way right here. Marketing relationships, website, mm-hmm. Setting up funnels, and I'll share with a funnel with you, a little ebook that I wrote up to share with investors that are interested in this, but just providing values like, what is syndication? Well, here's an ebook for you. You can read through it and know what it's basically about, and how you can participate in this in a way that's not like the stock market.
You wrote the ebook?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I'll hand it out to you guys.
Okay.
So it's how can you get the returns for your dollar but not be in the stock market? Because I know you said before, people not always comfortable with having their money sitting in the stock market. Like, what's the next trigger? Like, the stock market could do X tomorrow. We don't know, right? But when your dollars are collateralized by a piece of real estate, we know what can happen with that. It can burn down, right? Or an earthquake can happen, and we have insurance for that. So it's a lot safer. I think a lot of people feel safer owning real estate or having their dollars participate in real estate in some way. Mm-hmm. So syndication is a good way to do that, and also not only benefit them, but benefit me and my skills of finding those properties that have those values that people want. And how can we use our entrepreneurial vision to create the value that those people need? Mm-hmm. So yeah, and that's what I really love. And it can be simply, I kind of want to break the mold of just your classic syndication model, right? I would rather just be open, right? Open to different ideas, and that could be like the park that we just bought could be, say, partial owner financing, and then maybe the rest of the funding could come from a syndication partners, right? Mm-hmm. Now we all own it for long term, right? There's so many options. Yeah. That's what I learned about. What I love about syndication is it's how creative you can be. There's so many different ways. So
do you talk about in your book the difference between private offerings versus public offerings and having to be licensed and all that?
yeah, so there's the syndication basically falls into two categories, just roughly 506B and 506C. So 506B is you can't advertise. They're not accredited investors. They can be sophisticated, which in my little ebook I'll share with you. I kind of break that down, what that means.
Okay.
506C is accredited investors. So you need to make, $200,000 a year single, net worth of $1 million. So it can go either way. And I think a lot of syndicators kind of make a choice. We're like, I want to be a part B, or part C. But I think it depends on the deal, Carrie. What's the deal? What asset class is that deal? And because I guess I don't want to forget about people that still need a return on their money because they're not accredited. Right. I just can't advertise to them. So there's a lot of SEC rules that you have to follow. But if they can still participate in, a certain asset class that they're kind of passionate about and they want to get the returns, there's no reason why we can't break each deal down to who needs a certain return to suit their needs, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the ebook, so you talk about the two different types of investors that you work with, but do you also talk about the Series 7 license and when you need it, when you don't need it, how to trouble?
I don't dive into it that deep. I just look at it from the angle of, as an investor that wants to learn about it, kind of what the basic overall structure would look like. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. I'd love to get a hold of that book. And is that something that you offer for free?
I do. You can just jump on my website at www.sharkzcapital.com. SHARKZ. Shark with a Z. Yeah, and it's called 3 Shocking Ways to Invest in Real Estate That Your Investment Advisor Will Never Tell You About.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you for that gift to the audience. So, guys, I'll put that in the show notes as well. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, just jump over to the show notes and I'll put the website in there for you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Awesome, Ed. Well, anything else before we go? This is good stuff.
Oh, no, just excited. You guys going to be in Las Vegas?
Yeah, we've got a lot of travel plans this year. We're going to be in Tucson in January for that event. Then we're going to be in Las Vegas, and I think that's June or July. Yeah. And then we've got some other events that we're looking at. So, but awesome. So much time and the new year.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of big plans next year. So it's balanced.
It is a new year. It's exciting. There's a lot of good stuff going on this year. So I'm super excited in our businesses. And, I talk with a lot of other investors as well. And, it's exciting times. Like we're on unprecedented time in real estate. Like the transfer of wealth, the baby boomers moving on. Yeah. It's a super exciting time.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of opportunities right now. So we're going to be venturing into different types of deals that we have never focused on in the past because there's an opportunity for them now.
Yep.
So I'm really excited, and who knows what the market's going to do next year, but there's always going to be opportunities.
True.
Whatever the market does. And so that's what we're gearing up towards.
Same here. I love that. And you got to look at that. Where is the opportunity? The blue ocean and the red ocean, right?
Yeah.
You can't always be where everybody else is. Like what can you see that other people don't to position yourself in a different place, right? Yeah. To take look at that opportunity and utilize that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we're going to be jumping in blue oceans. We're staying out of the red.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yep. I love that. So.
Well, we'll miss you in January, but we'll see you in Vegas this summer.
I'll be so excited looking to see both of you and Howie there. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Carrie, for having me. I really appreciate it. It's just been awesome.
if anyone has any questions for you or wants to connect with you, where's the best place to do that?
So you can email me at ed@sharkzcapital.com, SHARKZ capital.com, or just on the website. If you download the free book, I'll be in contact with you from then on.
Yeah.
Yep.
So guys, make sure to download the book. Great gift from Ed.
Yep.
Special.
Yep. Exactly. I hope everybody likes it. I just like to provide value, right? You know, a lot of people, they don't want to share a lot of stuff, but I think the more you share, the more open you are, and just teach people, right? Teach them what you know, and, you know, be secure in who you are with sharing that, you know, be helpful. So hopefully you guys enjoy it.
If you do download the book and you connect with Ed, ask Ed about the Las Vegas event that we're all going to be attending, or you can reach out to me, whoever. But we're happy to share the details on that because it's going to be an amazing event. Ed and myself are both going to be there as table captains, and it's all on leadership, which is something we really, really, really need right now with everything going on in this crazy world of ours. We need more leaders stepping up. So it's all on leadership. And it's in the most fun place, Vegas. So you get a ship and Vegas. Come on.
I'm so excited. I'm so humbled to even be a part of that. I look at everybody else is going to be there, and it's like, oh my gosh, like so-and-so, right? It's like, God, and it just,
there's going to be,
I feel privileged.
There's really great people there. So
it's just amazing.
Recognize something there. So definitely. If you reach out to me or you can reach out to Ed, we'll share the details with that since we'll both.
Absolutely. You bet.
Awesome, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much, Ed, for sharing.
You're so welcome. Thank you very much.
All right. Happy holidays, everyone. This is probably going to be the last show before the holidays hit, and then we'll be back at it year 2022, which is crazy, right?
Yes. Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode.